Vamos a hablar ahora de un tema que es muy importante.
Now we will speak of an issue which is very important. The issue concerns the state of mind of or political consciousness of the people. It is critical that we take into account the state of mind of the people. We speak of state of mind of the people rather than the masses, which is the term we most associate with Lenin and the 20th century Marxist-Leninist literature. The problem is that the term masses is not as helpful as it once seems to be. Our 21st century vision of the revolutionary subject is one that is differentiated, whereas the term masses seems homogenizing. We prefer to speak of the people, or the popular base. Now, notice we have said that it's fundamental to analyze the correlation of forces, but in analyzing the correlation of forces, we cannot be subjective. If we put all our heart and our passion into the struggle, we often think that there is more strength than actually exists in the revolutionary camp, and that is a mistake. It is not more revolutionary to assume our forces are greater than they are. Why? Because we plan our battles on the basis of how we analyze the forces we have. If we go into combat and think we have an army of 10,000 soldiers, then we plan the combat on the basis that 10,000 soldiers will fight. If we have only 5,000 or 2,000 and not the 10,000 soldiers, it results in us going down to defeat, because we cannot win the battle with 2,000 soldiers if the planning was for 10,000. And what do we then do? We make bad assumptions and misinform our leaders and plan battles without having the resources nor the people necessary for undertaking. We have to be capable then of knowing what the state of mind of the people is, and we have to know what the state of mind of the enemy is. That is very important. We also have to know what is the actual international context in which we are fighting. With this assessment, we must then determine lines of action.
Pero para poder tener una clara
But to be
percepción
able
del
to
estado
gain
de las
a
masas,
clear perception of the state of mind of the people, we have to learn to listen. And unfortunately, many of our leaders do not know how to listen. They know how to plan politically, they know how to give orders, but they do not know how to listen. To rule by obeying, of which Evo Morales often speaks, is achieved rarely. In reality, orders are given to be obeyed. Ruling is not based on obeying the people. We say that the leaders often do not know how to listen, but subordinates of these leaders, the middle ranks, also misinforms the leaders. In order to make them happy or for political opportunism, they give wrong information, making the situation sound better than it is in reality. I believe this is a main political error which deserves a serious penalty, because the danger of non-objective information is that leads to incorrect decisions, strategies, and tactics, which result in the failure of the process and discouragement of the people. Often we say of our failures, "Oh no, it was the people who did not act. It was the people who did not mobilize," and we do not realize that we ourselves were the ones who were incapable of planning the battles correctly. There is a tendency to subjectivism, at times due to the revolutionary passion of the leaders. This leads to them being misinformed, to thinking that the state of mind of the people around them reflects the state of mind of the people in general. For example, the leaders of a very conservative neighborhood tends to think that other neighborhoods and the rest of the country have the same enthusiasm for struggle as his neighborhood, when often his neighborhood is the exception. This happened in guerrilla zones in Colombia, as the guerrilla commanders saw in zone controlled by the guerrilla that discipline imposed by them, solidarity attitudes, a series of measures and standards were being respected. Then this view of those zones was projected onto the whole country. One of the consequences of this was that a policy for the city was made using the same criteria that were applying in the zones they controlled in the countryside. And it is for this reason that so many people died in the cities, sympathizers or those who were urban guerrilla, because these urban militants have to confront a repressive regime which is entirely strength in the city, a situation which did not exist in the controlled zones in the countryside. That results not only in the failure of the revolution, but many lives are lost by these subjective decisions. This was a product of Stalinism, to think that everything said by the party is correct, everything done is good, and it is necessary to adapt the reality to the proposals of the party. We, along with Isabel Rauer, a colleague of mine of many years, adopted a method for trying to avoid subjective judgments and to help to attain accurate analysis regarding specific situations. We create an outline of or methodology for analyzing concrete situations, or what we call the conjuncture. That will be the subject of another special session because it takes quite a lot of time.